how's it going?
I'm well, thanks. And how are you today?
Yo, I cannot complain at all. I'm super excited that, we're actually doing this. So I'm happy. How are you doing?
I'm okay. It's a bit wet in Johannesburg. I'm in bed currently, but trying to be productive at the same time. Yourself?
It's pretty much normal. It was a bit cloudy today, but it was also hot as hell. I'm down in Durban,
All
but
right.
yeah, I guess I'm glad it was it's not like wet. Has it just been in bed type vibes the whole day or what's been
No, I
happening?
had to get up and do stuff. I wake up every day at around 5 a.m. Then I bathe, shower. I try to do stuff around, the house, map out what I'm going to try and achieve for the day and then get on with it. Yeah, so been awake for a while, been doing stuff, but some things just need you to jump back into bed because while this weather, I cannot be sitting on a desk. No.
At least you're being productive, hey? Like what like with the way that you've explained how your whole day is, like what does your average week look like? Like say for example, from Monday, as soon as things just start like going, what are the vibes? Like, because I know it's you pretty busy.
So it kind of depends what I hope for, what I feel like, and what has been presented to me. So I don't usually do a week view, it's generally a daily view. The average week, depending on if I've got a gig, depending on if I want to create some mixes, depending on if I want to work on production, I'll try to sort of map out how I want to be productive in each of those spaces, keeping in mind the goals that I have for myself, keeping in mind of course, the dreams and the visions that I want to acquire.
It's very beautiful that you break it down and you take it a day at a time. Because I do feel like I don't know about you, but I feel like if I look at something long term, it can sometimes feel a little overwhelming. So it's nice to sort of tackle something, as it comes in a way. I think that's a really solid strategy that you got going there.
Yeah, and especially with COVID, nothing I feel is very solid or it's not easy to make solid and long-term plans because things just change almost at every turn. I don't do anything 3 months ahead anymore because while in October I was trying to, put things together, and then now we're being told of new variants and possibilities of shutting down of the entertainment industry and such talk. It makes it very hard. It's very daunting. So we rather take it in like short term to medium term chunks as opposed to like long term.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. We've actually, I feel like we just literally kicked it off with some sound advice. Actually, I think anyone who's actually hopped in on this could actually pick up a few tips from you in terms of how to maneuver around lockdown. So that was a really solid starting point. But I want to quickly do introductions because obviously it's a formality, and the people that are listening or the person that's listening needs to know who our guest is for today. So I'm gonna need for you to assist me on this, all right? Because I started following you, or I got to know about you. It was on Twitter, and this was years ago. I don't even know how many years it was, but you were even under a different name, compared to what your current name is now, and we're gonna break that down. But I want to see what your current name is, and it comes to pronunciation for me, which is why
Uh-huh.
I'm afraid of butchering it because I don't know if the pronunciation would be the indigenous one or if it would be the English
Uh-huh.
one. So I'm just gonna leave it to you. How do you pronounce your name?
I'd love to hear you try. That would.
I was a bit conflicted. I didn't know whether it was Chachi or
Uh-huh.
Chachi. So I didn't want to risk it.
It's Chachi. It's Chachi Africa.
Okay, what's the meaning behind that? It's a very unique name, actually.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned prior to that, I've had very many different names. I've had Chachi, I've had Zyla, I've had Ebelebe, I've had um, Mimi. I've had, oh my goodness. I think it's very healthy, first of all, to rebrand. Second of all, I think it's a natural development that makes it such that my name changes. And hey, man, why not? If you can, come on now. Well, my name is Chachi Africa. I changed it. I changed it when I started DJing, particularly. So when I was on air, when I was on radio, I started doing radio, I think in 2002 on campus radio. Around that time, I couldn't use even my birth name at that time. And so where I was working, they said, we'll allow you to continue doing radio on condition that when we Google you or when we type your name on search engines, we don't really want to see radio and entertainment things pop up. So I had to choose a name that was very, very different from, my ID name. Let me not give you my ID name. That one.
Come on,
I'm
come on.
super famous.
We're learning about you. We're learning about you though. We need it all. We need all the details. Come on.
It's Yolanda. A lot of people don't pronounce it well. It's Yolanda, Yelanda.
It's a beautiful
So
name.
thank you. So they said it must be very far off from that. It mustn't appear in search engines. So I went with Xyla. Xyla comes from xylophone. That's the first instrument I ever played. I started playing music when I was like 4 years old. My mom was a music teacher. She studied music as well. So music's always been a part of my life. So when I did radio, I started off as Xyla. I did campus radio. I ended up working at 5FM for about 3 years. And then contract ended at 5FM. And then I haven't done radio since then. Crossing fingers, I'll be on the airwaves at some point again. But since I stopped working at 5FM now, I felt as though I needed a rebrand because a lot of people were hollering at me to say, why aren't you on air anymore? We miss you on air, day in, day out. Like, and it didn't make me feel nice. It made me sad. I won't lie. People would say all these nice things, oh, you're so amazing. It was so nice staying up late with you, blah, 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 blah. And it would just break my heart that, I wasn't able to swiftly go back into the broadcasting space. And also with that, I had no employment. I had to find a means to, sustain myself and a livelihood. And one skill that I'd learned when I was in radio to diversify was DJing. So I said, you know what? Let's just DJ. Let's continue with DJing. Let's create something around this, build it, grow it, but now come through with a sound and a different energy to Xyla. I still am Xyla because I still am Yolanda because I still am Chachi. But yeah, let's give it another wrapping. So the name Chachi itself comes from my name from the village, a child. So I've got another name that I get called by back home, which is a flower. Yes. So a lot of my family members, in fact, they'll call me Chachi, Chachi out, Chachi, Chaf Dola, Chaf Dido. You understand? So Chachi came out of that.
It's a very dope experience. This is why we're here. We're here to get all of that, and the extras. But I really like how you mentioned there that, you started off doing the whole radio thing, and that you said, you ended up branching out into the whole DJing thing, because I think there's this misconception that, or rather, let me say, I used to always be under this impression that a radio presenter is automatically a DJ. So, I mean, for you, how was that sort of transition, from being a radio presenter, obviously with 5FM and campus radio, and then to sort of transitioning into being a DJ and playing live sets and all of that there?
I've studied music. You hear me? Hey, I've studied music. In high school, I was even in orchestra. My main instrument was the violin. As I played, obviously, recorder. I studied recorder. I started with the xylophone, though. Recorder, I played the piano, I played the drums, but I ended up specializing in violin. So I played that most of high school. I was in orchestra. So I've always been that person. And then DJing for me, I enjoyed it. I could see and understand the craft of DJing, but it appealed to me in a very, very different way because I always wanted to add elements to when people were playing on set, which maybe I'll delve into at some point. But I always felt as though, it's one instrument, and for an orchestra to take place, you'd have something similar to Black Motion or what Black Coffee did on Africa Rising, where you add the strings, you add, this instrument, that instrument. I always saw the DJing part as only one instrument that belongs in an orchestra or in a group of instruments. So when I had to consider DJing, it wasn't because I wanted per se to DJ. It was because of skills development, honestly. I was at 5FM, I speak, I entertain, I engage people. But now over and above that, what else do I have to offer? At that point, I was actually still in varsity as well. And I wanted to challenge myself on top of that. So I said, let me learn an instrument, which is DJing. It's a machine and an instrument to make music. Let me add that to my profile, to my schedule, so that I'm more disciplined, so that I'm more well-rounded, and I can, entertain people even further than what I'm currently doing. So that's how it came about. The process of learning was very easy for me, to be honest, because I studied music and the theory of music. But like anything that you don't know, you still need to learn, because it's a machine with a lot of buttons, baby. And you need to know what those buttons do to get the desired sound and what sounds good. So yeah, that was the process itself. I went to DJing school. Shout out to Pioneer DJ School. I paid the fees. It's not a promo, and they take time to make sure that you learn well and you graduate. So that's good.
Something that has come up, in past episodes when it comes to people that have studied music. I want to get your take on it, because I mean, a lot of the time you'll find that once something becomes formal, or it's sort of within a set structure, that sort of takes the passion away. Like, for example, if you get someone who, has got a guitar at home, and they just, they just play that guitar and just for the hell of it, and they end up getting good, opposed to someone who then goes and actually studies and goes through the theory and all that. There's someone who's actually studied music. Would you say that, you studying it sort of enhanced your love for music, or would you say there was an element of it that made you be like, oh, you know what, it's very formalized now, I have to do this, I have to study, I have to do that? Did it sort of kill the passion a little bit, or is it more or less the same?
I come from a very musical household, so music was made to be a part of our lives. It was just entrenched. Anything and everything that we did involved music, and I'm talking from basic linguistic development, from like childhood, early childhood. Like music was always there in our household, both on my mom and my dad's side, but more my mom's side, because she studied music like legit. So I never felt it being used sort of as a tool, and the formalization of it wasn't a thing because it was already entrenched. And then in terms of if it stripped away the passion, I had no choice. When you go to grade 1, when you go to grade 2, when you go to grade 3, do you have a choice? You don't. They take you to school, you color in, they say color in the lines, you do the sums, you learn ABC, and you come back home, you eat lunch, you play, you bath, and you go to sleep. So for me, it was literally like that because of my mother's music background. It just was always there. I never knew a life outside of the option of not playing music. There was a time when I got to high school where I saw, well, just before high school, leaving primary school, going into high school, I saw that I actually have a choice in the instrument that I want to play, or I can change. It wasn't really a choice. It was a meeting I had to have with my family. I had options in terms of instruments that I wanted to play. And also that's why I saw the actual formalization of studying music as a thing that not everybody engages in. My parents didn't give me the option to not do music. It just was.
I think you're really lucky though in that sense, because it's very rare, that you go to like a black household, within South Africa, and you find that the parents are doing music, and they encourage the children to get into music. I'd like to think it's rare. I mean, at least from past experience and the artists that we've had, majority of them are on some, I had to sneak out and, go behind back doors or whatever and try to get some studio time, because at home they wanted me to be a lawyer or something. So it's really refreshing having someone who actually came from a background where music was sort of like at the center of it all. It's really refreshing.
Are you kidding me? Who do you think they told me to be a lawyer? They did. Oh my gosh, music. As I said, it was part of syllabus. So as much as I was studying music, right? And I did it throughout my life. The lawyer, doctor, as in any Black African household, that talk was still there. Oh,
Damn.
Don't get it. Hey,
How?
hey.
How? I'm trying to understand, because your mom taught music. And you said your dad also had like background in music. Why is there lawyer talk then? Why is there doctor
She was
talk?
also an academic as well. So you see, and it's
see.
always like, but myself, I did this, I did that. Why is it so difficult for you? No, it's I do get what you mean. Not all households were privileged enough to pursue music, whether they wanted to or not, whether they were
Yeah.
presented with the opportunity or not. And I think I saw when, especially I was in high school, the cost of an hour's lesson for any instrument is not something that's attainable to quite a lot of people. That's where I was like, okay, you know what? Whether I like to or not, my parents are making me do this. They're actually paying for it. It must be important, if not to me, but to them and for me. And I'll see later on how it helps me out. And sometimes I hated it, I won't lie. But a lot of the times it was just a part of life.
Yeah.
That in mind, the talk of studying, being in a science, being in legal, being in a medical field, it never went away. So I studied quite a lot. I enjoy studying also. I'm considering going back to university. I did apply.
Nice.
So next year, I'll see. It's COVID, as I said. I wasn't in an alternative household, even though it was to some extent alternative. It was just accommodating to, a bit more than, I guess, the general limitations.
I'm very surprised with what you mentioned a little earlier about how, you started, doing radio back in 2002, because you look very young. Like
2012. I know.
oh, I thought you said 2002. I heard 2002. I heard 2002,
No.
Chachi. No.
If I said 2002, it was a mistake. I take it back.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
it
I
was
was like,
2012.
what? It can't be. But like when you first started out, obviously, okay, as you said now in 2012, you got the whole campus radio thing going. Was your end goal, 5FM? Were you like, hey, one day I'm gonna be on 5FM as a presenter? Like, or did that sort of just manifest randomly?
I literally manifested it. I wrote it on and I didn't know. So I've got a post on Instagram. Let me actually check my Instagram group. There's a post that I wrote in 2012 or 2013 or something like that. It was before anything serious or major had happened. I had this list of 20 things about me.
I saw this. I dug it up.
And on this list, weirdly enough, and I saw this so far into when I was at 5FM, on this list, I'd written that I'd love to work for either MTV, Channel of Ruzu, or 5FM someday. And that was just off of vibes, first of all. Second of all, the institutes that I really, really related to, I saw their content as excellent, and I saw gaps where I thought I could improve on their already excellent, production. And this had nothing to do with the radio at that time, because I didn't think it would be on a talent capacity or anything. I thought maybe, as a consultant, as a researcher or something. I didn't even know a lot of the opportunities that were present in those organizations. But I just knew that, I have to be there doing something at some point, because I am the embodiment of those brands. So no, it was when I went to radio, I didn't intend on doing radio. Each year when I was in varsity, I would take on an extracurricular activity. And this either came in the form of clubs and societies. So at some point I was in a religious club. In the other year, I was in, they called it, I think, Rainbow Society, the LGBTQIA club at Wits. At some point, I was part of our school's, I was head of engineering. That was ridiculous. I'd do things and it would be my project for the year. So in that year, I didn't have a project. I didn't have an extracurricular activity rather, that I wanted to engage in. And I just started asking people, okay, what should I do? What should I do? What do you think I should do? What's out there? And somebody, I remember who they are, had suggested that I do radio. And their brother was in radio and they're on campus radio. And they said, no, man, come through. And I was like, I don't know the first thing about this. And when I went there, they told me, oh. And then I said, okay, I'll take on this radio thing. It sounds interesting. I have an aunt who was once on radio, but this is when I was a baby kid. I was like, okay, I'll try this radio thing, but the skill that I want to acquire by the end of it is a production skill. So We've all seen the image of the 1001 buttons when they show you images of the SABC or recording studio. I said, my goodness, wouldn't it be amazing to learn how to operate those buttons? I told my friend this, and he said, slow your roll, honey. If you go apply for production, they're not going to take you because you don't have experience in it. It's hard. Go in as a presenter. When you do that process, they're going to take you for 8-week training. In that 8-week training, part of it is production. You're going to learn there. And then when you're in there, say, you know what? I'm not feeling this presenter thing. I think I want to go with production, and they're going to put you in production. So he said, use that as your in, but don't go and say you want to do production. Fine. So I go, I said, I want to be a producer. Yeah, I said, I want to be a presenter. I want to do this. I can, I hyped myself up inside. I was like, yeah. I went and I did the 8-week training. It was grueling. We had to do it after hours, of course. And when I got to the production part, I said, no, this production thing is very difficult. It's highly technical. You need to be meticulous. It's a lot. It gave me just, migraines, because there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's not easy. And it's better if you're a person who likes to hone into and focus on perfecting the same thing for 3 hours. If you're that type of person, production is for you. I said, no way. I am not going to do that. And then I said, oh, well, there goes that radio situation. But a part of me was like, no, man, you're not going to spend 8 weeks up and down doing this thing and then just leave. No, girl, you're going to stick this thing through. So I just hung around. I'd already, started meeting more people. People were different from the studies that I was doing. So a different group of people altogether. I just stuck through. And then I think like 6 months later, I got given a show. Well, I was like,
damn.
Oh, okay. Nice.
You were that good.
It's a combination of good availability, willingness. You understand, like these things aren't, yeah.
I feel like you're downplaying it.
I was good.
and another thing actually that you mentioned, within that sacred, we're gonna call it the sacred list. In that sacred list is obviously your love for rock music back in 2012. And I related to that because I'm there, fam. Like that was me in high school, and I mean, with your love for rock music, is this the kind of stuff that you were playing on your show, or was it just sort of like a side thing?
So rock music for me has been my life since I was a kid. A lot of people find that very, very bizarre. I remember I've mentioned that in my family, music was just a part of our lives. It's part of everything that we did. In our household, we played a very wide range of music, like a very, very, like when I say varied, man, and rock music was part of it. So 80s rock, 80s rock is my thing. Not because at some point I was like, oh, 80s rock sounds cool. No, because my parents used to play it. It was a thing, especially Queen. Queen is like very, very dear to our family and my heart, and Alice Cooper. Like, yo, man. And there was different types of rocks. So growing up, you even had Bryan Adams would fall part of that. Had your hard rock, you had like goth rock, you had soft pop rock. Jordan Michael was in there. Like, so rock has always been there. It's always.
When you mention Queen, I automatically think of I don't know if you've seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody. That was for me probably one of the greatest movies of all time. It was before that movie I'd never like listened to Queen, but then
Really?
afterwards I was like, damn, okay. I even recognized some of the tracks. Like, hey, I know that track. I know it, but that was a phenomenal movie. It was incredible.
Queen is part of my life more than you can even understand. That is even a conversation I think for another day, because you will be unraveling other things. Even before I was born, there was like vinyls. We have Queen vinyls in my house. Like, it's that deep. So it's just always like Queen has always been there. And that's the one that, like, I don't know, it gave us the oomph, it gave us vibes. Yeah, no, Queen is it. In terms of Bohemian Rhapsody, I really enjoyed the movie. Apparently Sacha Baron Cohen was initially selected to play Freddie Mercury, but Rami Malek did an amazing job. And I really, really loved it. If you're a true Queen fan, you'll know of the various things which were omitted from the movie to apparently make it more palatable for mainstream, but whatever, man. I love how they were very accurate, like with the smallest things. So I don't know if you know about the performance at Wembley. It's the World 8 performance, like right down to the shoes and the vest, right down to when he did the performance for, this performance that he did the music video for Bohemian Rhapsody. If you check that out, like the cups that are on top of the piano, those things are special because as a fan, and the gestures, the movements, it's like Beyonce choreography, but like for a rock artist. So, you know, when he does the air punches at certain parts, and those things are very, 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 very important because as Queen fans, we've watched those 100 million and one times. So if it's different, like we're gonna see it. And they stuck to it. I love how they did the dentals very well as well. No, I don't know if I like the movie as much as like my love for Queen is, but it was a very good production. I really enjoyed it.
I think we need to have one day, should we ever link up, I am very interested in hearing about the stuff that was cut out, because I do know that we could, like, if we had to get into that, it would last the entire night. So let's arrange for when we link up one day, hopefully. Some of the stuff that you mentioned in your list as well was that you went out to Australia as an exchange student. How was that experience for you heading out to Australia?
It was quite a lot. It was sure, I was young, I was in school, I was, you know, the top exchange student at my school, and I was there for what, 4 months. I was very far away from home. I had 2 different host families, and they were both very, very different. The first one was very like Stepford wives, we're all perfect, we tie our ponytails perfect type of situation, you know, and they were amazing. My second host family, also very amazing, but they were the very alternative family. Their kids all played music. There was a drum kit in the house, so you can imagine, like, I was having a ball. I love them so much, even to this day. Their lifestyle was very, very different to the first host family, very, very different to the family that I'm used to back in South Africa. Like Saturdays, we'd have like donuts. We hardly ever ate vegetables. There was like basically no lunch. You'd get just lunch money and buy junk at school. I don't know if you know this or well, if it's changed, but at that time, like in Australia, boys have piercings on their left ear, like little kids, 4-year-olds. And like the kids in the family that I was staying with, the second family, had like long hair, even the boys, and they'd have like piercings on their ear. And the baby boy, he was like 3 years old. He had this, you know, the long feather with a cross and long hair. He was a baby hippie. And they were just amazing. It was fun. Like, it was fun. But Australia at that time, especially, I don't know now how they are, but they were very racist as well. It was extremely, no, this is just, they were very racist. And no, they were just like really, really racist. And they just say things to your face. They were ignorant also on top of the racism. They were ignorant about the fact that I'm from Africa. So they didn't believe that I had clothes when I came to the country. I thought I got them at the airport.
That's bad.
That's just like ignorance. For the most part, all in all, I had an amazing time because I, you know, do things with my host family. I made some really strong friendships. I still speak to some of my, you know, classmates and homies that I made over there. So this was like over 10 years ago. So that is just amazing. I hope to go to Australia again, not for 4 months this time though, maybe to play at a gig there, give them some Afro House. And that would be awesome.
I can definitely see that happening, you know, with the work ethic that you've got. I mean, you're consistently posting. I mean, your Instagram is really just super active, you know, with the gigs that you're playing and all that there. And obviously you didn't mention now the Afro House, you know, would say that is basically the genre of choice. That is what you literally serve up, you know, on the decks. I really just want to know, you know, in terms of, you know, why Afro House, and, you know, where, like, what made you be like, hey, I'm going to be a DJ and I'm going to focus specifically on, you know, Afro House?
So, you know, Afro House, it's a very tricky situation. I feel like it's a very, very tricky situation. When I started out DJing, I learned at the Pioneer Institute, and they used electro and techno music to teach me how to DJ. So it was more about the skill and the technique. I did like electro music, but it just made me like it even more. No problem. And then when I started playing Afro House, in fact. So I was playing your heavy Ks. I was playing Black Coffee. I was playing DJ Spoo. I was playing a bit of Gqom as well. And then Ryan, the DJ, also convinced me to, sprinkle in some hip hop. He taught me quite a lot when it comes to sourcing music, when it comes to, approaching people in a professional sense, making sure that you get paid, the use of a contract. Shout out to him. It was very, very helpful and, good source of knowledge without making me pay or making me feel a type of way. So that was quite a process. And then the hip hop thing kind of, went for a bit, but then I still liked Afro House. And then there's a type of Afro House that Tulo the song plays. There's a type of Afro House that like Black Coffee plays. It veered off into Black Motion. It's Afro House now. We're able to label it and call it a thing, but it wasn't so easy at some point. I must admit, it wasn't so easy. I knew that when I hear a beat, when I hear that vibe, something inside happens to me when I, vibe to certain artists. It's got to do with the bass beat. It's got to do with an African sound. At that point, I wasn't able to identify it per se. No problem. I tried to play Afro House. I remember I took the decision to, all right, let's do Afro House. No stress, no tears. We're going to come at this full force. And I didn't say nicely. That's direct translation from Xhosa. Because the places where I was trying to, play it at wasn't being received well. And then now I also needed money. So I need to get gigs. At that point, I met up with somebody. I mentioned this conundrum, but I didn't make it a thing. I just said, give me a chance to play at your establishment. Don't worry, I'll rock it. I played Afro House, and it was an establishment in Melville. It went well, people were receptive. And then one day, when I was supposed to play, the person who was supposed to play amaPiano didn't pitch. This is when my piano was still creeping in. The person didn't pitch. And he's like, I'm begging you, please play the piano. This person's not here. Like, just hook it up, dog, hook it up. I played piano. Then from that day on, he was like, yo, fire. Please, even next week, play piano. So for quite a while, I ended up playing piano because of that one incident. I remember the money is coming. Don't forget, I don't have a job anymore. 5FM released me.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
I'm like, let's play. So I ended up playing the pianos for quite a while. I love amaPiano with all of my heart. But then this one time that my mom saw me play, I played at News Cafe. I was playing Afro House. And she was like, man, if you can just go back to it would please my heart so much. I love that stuff that you play over there. And did you see how, people were the way that they were? It was like groove, but there's a spiritual element to it. You should play that thing, man. Play that thing. So I've been focusing on Afro House because if somebody else, especially like a parent, can see what that music does, not only to other people, but also to you, in a way that's like, I call it ethereal, in a way that moves you more than groove itself. I think that's a special thing, and I think I should stick with it. So that's how I came to stick to and to play Afro House. I'm not above playing piano for money. I'm teasing. I like money. So I do even now. Getting gigs for Afro House, it's not that easy. Things are a tad bit better. There has been a culture that has been growing with regards to Afro House, but it's still going very, very, very slow, very slow.
Just looking at what Black Coffee is doing for the genre overseas, I can definitely see this being a thing. Like, in a few years, I can see you out in Spain somewhere, just killing it out there, fam.
Let me not even lie to you. It's very tough. I get discouraged very, very often. Sure, it's hard. So I have to sort of, just try and envision it to a point of accuracy so that it feels closer than it actually is. Because from where I am now, how it feels very, very far away, but I need to bring it closer to myself and work towards, getting myself there. And nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's putting on anybody. And I don't think I also expect anybody to usher or to rock me into those spaces. So I just have to focus on working hard to get there. But it's not hard, I won't lie. It's not a friendly, warm, vibey space. No, it's like figure yourself out. Try to have a strategy and, yeah, you'll see where you land up type of thing.
That is some very solid advice. And I would be doing an injustice if I do not touch on the SoundCloud mixes, because you're very consistent with that as well. What sort of goes into these SoundCloud mixes for someone who hasn't really, tuned in or listened to them?
I'm a very, very personal person, I think. I've done so many mixes and then I don't put them out because I feel like it's very personal and I feel very bare and exposed. That happens quite a lot, if I must say. The ones I have put out are also ones which I feel I've put myself spiritually out there, but it's at least a portion I can handle of me being out there. It doesn't make too much sense because it's sound. It's not words. And sometimes when I make a mix, I feel like I've shared too much. If I submit something that's super personal and somebody criticizes it, I fear that it may just, affect me to a point where I don't ever want to put out a mix again. They definitely will come up though. But yeah, so it's a very, very personal offering. If you are aware of the music, of the songs, the artists, and the messages within them, I think it makes sense.
What makes like a good DJ? What makes also a unique DJ? What makes one stand? Like, what would make Chachi stand out, and what makes Chachi so good, and sort of able to deliver an experience that is completely different to what someone else would sort of experience in a way, or deliver in a way?
It boils down to like a couple of things. So there's different objectives when you DJ. You can DJ to create a party, a vibe, groove. You can DJ to create ambience. You can DJ to translate emotion. You can DJ to heal, So I think it depends what function you're trying to serve, honestly speaking. So when I was DJing piano, I was DJing for groove. I was intentionally picking tracks that are going to make people feel a type of way that makes them want to take all their stress and worries of the week, everything that is horrible, that made them feel, begrudged, and to throw it back and live in the now and groove their worries away. So there's objective in that. Sometimes you're invited in a space to create an ambience. You can be invited into a space to give an ethereal vibe, an African feeling vibe, to soothe people. So this is music where there are folk involved, but they need to be able to communicate with each other. And ambient music, it's not bad. It's a different type of vibe. That's it. You can use it to express yourself and to share of yourself. So there are people who will put out mixes on YouTube and it's like an R&B mix because they broke up with somebody, So it's love songs, but it's the sad ones because they're trying to get over whatever they went through. And after they do that, the offering that they made to comfort themselves, the lyrics that were entrenched in the songs that they selected, the tempo of those songs is what is going to reflect what they're going through and help them through it. I also feel like there's music to heal people. Music does that, I feel, most of the time. But sometimes the intention is to heal. I personally have and hold that belief about Culo the song. I feel like his music is more medicinal. Msaki as well, very medicinal music. That's a vibe I'm getting. So it really, really does depend on the context. Other than that, there's the technical part of it, the mixing, like that one. You can either know how to do it intuitively, but I say going to get somebody to teach you how to do it properly is the best because you've got your BPM. A lot of people aren't aware of mixing in key. They just take any song and it kind of clashes. Some people aren't sure of how to use different effects correctly. And the theory behind, the quarter, the eighth, and the 16th, they know how it sounds, but aren't aware of why it comes out sounding. So like, it does depend on the objective and what needs to be achieved at the end of the day. When I put stuff up on SoundCloud and on YouTube, it's personal. Usually I'm going through something where I've experienced something. Yes, so that one usually has to do mostly with myself or an experience that I had or an outlet given an experience that I've had. Like my song selection very much will be based on that. When I play Afro House, at this point, I'm convincing people, it's not like when I was playing the pianos or when I was playing hip hop, because already people are aware of that genre. People already can engage and partake regardless of who I am. But when I play Afro House, it's almost foreign territory. It's not the popular thing. And so I have to prove to you that, first of all, I can do an excellent job and I can get you to where you need to get to with the sound. And I'm telling you, the sound is amazing for your soul. The sound is authentically African. The sound is birthed by us. And it's for us, and let's immerse ourselves in it.
Chachi, I want to thank you, for this opportunity. I feel like I've learned so much about you. Rock music, Australia, radio, 5FM. I even gathered with your favorites, obviously, your Kuroti song, Black Coffee, Black Motion, all of these things that we didn't touch on, but it's sort of like, you just get these, bits and pieces. So I really appreciate, you taking some time out and joining me on this episode. For anyone who's listening to this and wants to reach out to you, maybe wants to book you, or maybe, wants to check out a feature show, what are your social media handles for them to check that out on?
It's Chachi_Africa on Instagram, on Twitter, Chachi spelled CHACHI_Africa, AFRICA. And then if you want to book me, you can hit me up on the DMs on Instagram, or you can hit me up on bookings at chachi.co.za or chachiafrica@gmail.co.za.